bringing station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Carr Firearms Group studio
at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center
on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast on hundreds of radio stations around the nation begins right now. You are in the Carr Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, of course, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day now in our 17th year on the nation's airwaves. We're sitting in front of a 6-hour powerful and platinum microphone. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how the heck are you today? Well, I'm coming to you from Patriot Mobile Ranch, brother. It's beautiful out today. I hope you had a great day and a great couple days off. Welcome back in, bro.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm doing good.
So listen to this. We're live on Facebook, guys. You can watch us at facebook.com/armedamericanradio. You can also like, share, and all that fun stuff over there. Greg will tell you where to tell you. I'll get it out, I promise. It's early into the show right now, Greg. And you'll tell everybody where else to go and participate in the chats and watch us on social media if they choose to do that. And to all of you listening on affiliate stations across the country, we appreciate it. Greg, take it away and we'll get started. Big show, big show.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Other places to watch the show are Rumble and YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. On X, it's at AAR Mark. You've got armedamericanradio.org or .com as well. Just click the menu button and select your listen live, watch live, or podcast option. If you want to join our live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, guys, a lot of you have been asking, where's Alan Gottlieb been, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation? Alan's been doing some traveling and working on your behalf. He will be here at the bottom of this hour for the first time, Greg, I think in about 4 weeks.
Yeah, we're getting close to a month.
Yeah, A.W.R. Hawkins from Breitbart will be at the top of the second hour, along with Dr. John Lott at the bottom of that hour, a classic Armed American Radio roundtable with Parkland father Ryan Petty, Carr Arms CEO Justin Moon, and the founder of Lead Slingers Whiskey, Brad Primo. And to kick us off right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to introduce to you one of our newest partners, Attorneys for Freedom founder Mark Victor. Mark, welcome to the program. We love our self-defense attorneys on the show. It's great to have you here, brother.
Hey, Mark, it's a real honor to be on your show, and I'm very proud to appear today. Excited about our conversation.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, for transparency's sake, and Greg knows this, Mark, because we were talking at the top of the hour before we went live, I could keep you on this program easily for 3 hours. We just don't have enough time together. We could go on and on and on. So much I want to talk with you about, and we will have ample opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to do just that. Let me give you just a quick background here. Attorneys for Freedom, ladies and gentlemen, specializing in self-defense cases, bringing quality representation to clients since 1997. If you've ever been charged with a crime, you plan to assert self-defense, don't settle. You do not have to settle for an attorney who simply dabbles in self-defense. Now you can retain the only team of lawyers in the nation who are exclusively committed to representing clients in self-defense related criminal cases. So if you're facing self-defense related criminal matter, you can count on Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm for aggressive, professional, and specialized legal representation in all 50 states. And Mark, I'll let you give your background and not steal all your thunder, but tell us about the firm, how you founded it, why you founded it, and why it's so important we have somebody like you on our side.
Well, thanks for that opportunity. I guess I could describe myself as a very proud armed American. I served in the United States Marine Corps. It's one of my proudest achievements. I love the Marine Corps. I love being a Marine, and that got me fired up in terms of just being a good American. And went to law school because I've always been fascinated on what the interactions should be between individuals and the police. And I went into law school, pretty pro-freedom. I came out of law school on fire for the freedom position, and it wasn't long after I left law school. I started my own firm, and we're called the Attorneys for Freedom for a reason. Every single lawyer at my law firm is hardcore pro-freedom on all issues. And, I've been representing people in major felonies now for over 30 years, but it's just fairly recently that we really wrenched down on self-defense cases. And really, I'm very proud and honored to say we're the only law firm in the entire nation that does nothing but self-defense cases. And it's really been a function of this Attorneys on Retainer program that we started. We're the only self-protection program for people, who are competent, responsible firearms owners. I know what they're worried about. I've been speaking to the gun community for decades. They're worried they're going to pull out their firearm, act in self-defense, and some prosecutor is still going to charge them with a serious crime, and they're not going to have enough money to defend themselves. They may have a public defender, and they just don't feel like they're going to have an aggressive team. We put together a program, and our charge to our team is to make sure that no matter how much money somebody has, there is no way they can get a better defense in court on a self-defense case. And I'm talking soup to nuts. The investigator, the experts, everything through trial. If you need an appeal, through the appeal. If you get sued civilly, we handle that as well. That's been our charge, and we've been improving it for quite a while. And every lawyer at my firm's fired up about self-defense. In fact, we put every lawyer at the firm on every single case. So you get the entire team. Like, we're not fooling around with self-defense cases.
Mark, I have so many questions for you. Greg, slow the clock down, would you please? If as best you can, as best you can. And Mark, I just, again, I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, this is not going to be the first time Mark is here. We'll have plenty of time to talk with him about individual cases, et cetera, all kinds of fun stuff coming up. Mark, as I go back, I've been doing this a long time. I've written 2 books about people who have had a gun in their possession and used it. In my first book, Lessons from Armed America, and my second book, Lessons from Unarmed America, where many people who found themselves in a bad situation didn't have a gun. And we've talked about, I've lost count how many victims I've spoken to. And if you go back into the chats over many, many years, this question seems to always come up. Do I need an attorney on retainer, guys, if I carry a firearm for self-defense? Mark, am I going overboard if I'm even asking that question, or is that the really prudent thing to ask?
Well, I think it's really unfortunate. People who act in valid self-defense shouldn't be arrested, shouldn't be taken to jail, shouldn't be charged with criminal offenses. And, in a lot of states, they're not, right? Prosecutors, there are some of them who act properly. Well, we see these proper uses of a firearm in self-defense and people don't get charged. But then there's the cases that, drive us all crazy. When, like the Rittenhouse case, for example.
Yeah.
Somebody acts in the clearest case of self-defense. You could say the same for the George Zimmerman case, right? Clear case of self-defense, and yet the person gets charged. Now, as a criminal defender, I know how this goes. If you've got a firearm and you're charged with a crime, it's going to be a serious crime. It's almost always going to be mandatory prison, and people don't want to roll the dice on that unless they feel they got a really committed team, and they're worried they're not going to be able to fund a competent lawyer who might be $650, $850, $1,000 an hour, somebody who really knows what they're doing, who's tried major cases. I mean, we've done death penalty trials, many of them at our firm, lots of first-degree murder stuff. We've been doing these kinds of cases for over 30 years at our law firm. You want to hire us, it's going to be expensive. So this is a real problem, and people wind up taking deals because they're afraid that they're just not going to get a fair trial or they're going to have a good, competent team. Sure, it's fine if you're independently wealthy, but what if you're not? So that's why we created this Attorneys on Retainer program. It's for the average person who can pay $35 or $25 a month and have the peace of mind that if they get charged, they're going to have a team that's not going to be looking at some insurance policy for some exclusion to get out of it, like, oh, it's a criminal act, or you used alcohol, or it was a domestic violence, or any of these countless exclusions that these other programs have where they cite that, like, for example, sensitive areas. These anti-gun states are trying to make essentially their whole state a sensitive area. So if you use a firearm there and you're with a program that says, sorry, it was an illegal use of a weapon because it was a sensitive area, there's a real chance they can drop your case. And we've seen this happen to people. Okay, so we're a criminal defense law firm. This is what we do.
30.
And so we don't have those problems. Like, my team is waiting for the phone to ring so we can get in and show people what we can do. We have a bunch of cases. We love doing these cases. We love going to trial. So it's really, truly a win-win. I got a team that likes doing these cases. It gives me a big advantage in the market because my lawyers are on salary, so I don't have to cut a big check to pay some outside criminal defense lawyer to come in and represent someone. Like, for us, it doesn't cost me anything extra to send my whole team on the case, and we love doing these. So
And that's
it's worked out really
funny.
great.
Yeah, that music means we're getting ready to take a break. Mark, ladies and gentlemen, that's just called peace of mind. Mark, when we come back, I want to tell you what happened to me back in 2002. Real case, but we'll make it hypothetical. We'll get some answers from Mark Victor, founder of Attorneys for Freedom. We'll be right back. The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back, guys. You can visit all of our great partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. And I believe tomorrow you'll be able to click over to Attorneys for Freedom as well. And if you're watching on your devices, the phone that I'm holding up is a Patriot Mobile activated phone. You too can activate a Patriot Mobile phone. Real simple, patriotmobile.com/AAR. You get a free month of activation. You know all that fun stuff. And we're back in the Car Firearms Group studios with you. 6 Hour Platinum mic fired up for you at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. We're talking with Attorneys for Freedom founder Mark Victor. Mark, welcome back to the show. These segments fly. Let me apologize for that in advance. Before we get going with what I wanted to talk with you about, one of our chatters, we love interacting with our listeners when they're live with us. And Mark, his name is Mark, and he's in Illinois, and he asked this Mark to ask you, Mark, how much does it cost to be represented by your firm? Tell us about your program, because I'm also represented by you guys. So tell him about what that entails, what they need to do.
Yeah, real easy. It's $100 to sign up one time, and then as an individual, $25 a month. If you as an individual, it's $35 a month. If you sign up with a family member, each pays $25 a month. That entitles you to not only the full suite of legal defense that I talked about, but also there's firearms training. There's a huge legal advocacy. My lawyers were clamoring, said, "Hey, Mark, we're going to do self-defense stuff. We want to do other stuff, too. We want to fight the government." We've been dropping amicus briefs around the country. We're going after the Commerce Clause. We're going after the BATF. We're trying to protect freedom, and we're taking some of that money to do activism. We're also going to be doing some pro bono stuff for some of these people who do need some representation. So there's quite a bit of things that we're doing with our association. All of it either $25 or $35 a month. And I also mentioned real quick, rates are going to go up. But for everybody who joins before the end of the year, they will lock in that rate until 2030. So now's the time to join.
Yeah, that's a great move, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check them out. I'm going to drive you to the website as well. It's attorneysforfreedom.com, attorneysforfreedom.com. And you can read all about it over there. I've been through the process. It's very simple. It's very user-friendly. And just so you know, Mark, my entire family and listeners, my entire family is covered. I have a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, soon to be 21 and 22, and my wife. We all carry firearms, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the type of self-defense coverage that we want when it comes from a specific self-defense attorney and legal representation. You can have the same thing. Mark, let me set up it's not hypothetical. It happened to me in 2002. I found myself within 30 seconds on my way to work one morning in Tampa, Florida, an intended victim, or a secondary intended victim, if you will, of a couple of carjackers, tried to get in a car off my front left bumper, were unable to do so, turned their attention toward me. I pulled a Glock 36 handgun, and Glock's invention stopped the furtherance of any movement towards me whatsoever. Let's assume that's what happened. But let me throw a hypothetical. Let's assume I had to fire. And let's assume after the incident, there's an investigation. And I still don't know if I'm charged, but there's an ongoing investigation. Do I need you?
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
In fact, it's really important. Yeah, well, for starters, what you're going to say to the police. Lawyers try to craft a statement that's going to work in all cases, and it doesn't. That's why sometimes we tell people, just shut up, don't say anything. But the truth is, sometimes it might make sense to say some things. Why guess about that? As an AOR client, you're going to call our hotline within seconds. You're going to be on that phone with either me or one of my lawyers. Said another way, one of the lawyers on your team who is going to represent you throughout the whole matter. So we're going to custom tailor that legal advice for you right there. Secondarily, you probably are going to get charged. A lot of these states, just when you pull out if you're in your vehicle and you pull out a firearm, I can almost guarantee you in all cases, you're going to be facing some charges, especially if you're in an anti-gun state. And those can be difficult because, especially if you got a group of people, they're all going to have a different version than you, right? Their version's going to be, oh, we were just walking by the car and there was some crazy guy pulled out a gun and pointed it at us and yelled some things out the window. Like, they're going to have a completely different version. So, we just released a testimonial that was not that far from this, where there were many people pursuing one person who pulled out a firearm. They lied and said that there was a crazy guy with a gun. If it wasn't for our team scouring the area to find any scrap of video, which we did find, and showed the incident wasn't as the group of people said, but was as my client said, that went from an attempted murder charge to a dismissal because we got an investigator on the ground immediately and were able to convince that prosecutor that our client's version of events was correct. And a lot of those videos, those things don't get saved for very many days. So you got to get in there immediately. You can't wait until the prosecutor charges you, which could be weeks, months, or even many months down the road. Most of that exculpatory evidence is going to be gone. So you need action because years of your life are hanging on what you do next.
Mark, there's an old adage out there. People say, I don't like lawyers until they need a lawyer, and then they want the best attorney they can get their hands on at that moment in time.
That's right.
And guys, it can bankrupt you if you don't. If you don't have one, it can bankrupt you. Believe me, I'm telling you that right now. And for $35, that's a no-brainer. Now, is there any additional cost to me if let's assume in that situation I got charged and we had to move forward? I'm covered.
Nope. Soup to nuts. You're not going to take a dime out of your pocket. We're going to come running. You're going to get both things. You're going to get local counsel of your choice. The person you like, if this happened in Florida, we've used Mark O'Mara in Florida. In fact, we released another testimonial with him on that case. So if you got somebody you love, that's great. If you don't know a local attorney, we got a whole network of people we love who we've used before. Just turn that over to us. Let us get the local counsel. And then you'll get our entire team. And yes, we travel to your state, get admitted through something called the Pro Hoc Vice rules. That's how lawyers do national practices. They get a local counsel. They file a motion. You have a Sixth Amendment right to the counsel of your choice. We've never been denied, never had a problem. You're going to have a full slate of lawyers on your case. And not only lawyers, like I said, we use the best investigators and experts we can find, whether it's ballistics, use of force, whatever it is in the self-defense case. If you had limitless money to get the best experts, that's who we're going to track down. If we're going to play, we want to win.
Let's assume I need, I'm not going to name names. Let's assume I want Massad Ayoob as an expert witness, and it's a $50,000 deal.
Yeah, well, Massad and I know each other. We actually have a debate online. If you want Massad, we're going to get you Massad. He's not going to be $50,000, but if he was, we're playing to win.
There you go.
So if he's the best guy for the case, we're going to get him on board. Because like I said, all of this is win-win. We are lawyers first, and we want to do the best we can for our clients. That is more important to us than money. There are many things more important than money. Freedom is one of those things. We care more about freedom at our law firm than we do money. If you're not for freedom, you can't work at my law firm as an attorney.
I can't wait to have you back, Mark. We're going to have you back soon. I have so much I want to talk with you about. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mark Victor. He is the founder of Attorneys for Freedom. He's going to be a regular guest on the program. I can promise you that. We love our self-defense attorneys. Visit attorneysforfreedom.com.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Today, Mark, we'll be talking to you soon. We'll be right back with the great Alan Gottlieb, founder, SAF. Don't go away.
Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Oh, welcome back, guys. That was a fun interview. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Mark Victor, the founder of Attorneys for Freedom. Great stuff. And we love our self-defense attorneys here on the program. I cannot wait to get him back on the air. It will not be long. I can promise you that. We have so much we want to talk with him about because the advice that he will give you could be, absolutely could be life-saving, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me when I tell you, if you've ever found yourself in that situation, you don't want to be left alone. And those guys have your back. There's no doubt about it. Let's go to the phones now. Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, joins us. He's back. Alan, how are you, my friend? People have been asking, where's Alan been? I said, he's been busy working on your behalf, and here you are.
Yeah, but I'm glad to be back with you and your listeners. They're some of my best friends.
Oh, I tell you, they love you, Alan. You do know, and you've met many of them as well when we get out and about. It's always fun. Alan, where do I go with you? Since we last had you on the program, you and I were texting back and forth a little bit. There's so much happening. Let's go to the forced reset triggers. Can we go there first?
Sure.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, over the last 24 to 36 hours, the Department of Justice has tossed out the forced reset trigger. Now, forced reset trigger, what is it? First off, let me just put it in a nutshell for you. It is a device that actuates the trigger in a semi-automatic fashion, but the trigger movement with your trigger pull is faster than you could move it. It is not a machine gun. It is in between, and the Department of Justice has ended those cases. So they're moving in the right direction, Alan. What are we thinking about this? Over just the last 4 weeks, the moves that you've seen from the DOJ, kind of culminating in this one because it's the most recent. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Good.
This is a total 100% reversal of the Biden administration, and it shows the commitment the Trump administration has to protecting Second Amendment rights. Every gun owner should now really realize the difference what we had before to what we have now and what this means for our future.
Yeah, and it's important to point out, I think, that this is just the beginning. Am I right?
Yes, it is. There's a significant large agenda to work on to get rid of some of the roadblocks put in front of Second Amendment rights from this administration and past administrations as well. And there's a whole lot to worry about, not just administrative stuff, but legislative stuff, as well as on the legal front. And this administration is showing significant dedication. I think we've already accomplished more to protect gun rights in Trump's second term than we did in his first term.
Alan, is it good advice, as I've been telling listeners, that, Alan, look, you are like me and like our listeners around the country and like most gun owners who had to live through the hell that we had to live through over the previous 4 years and during the Obama administration, et cetera. Nothing was happening. We were on defense. And as you know, obviously, we've talked about it on the show. We're on offense. But we want it fast. We want it right now. We want it today. Isn't it safe to say, because I'm going to repeat what you just said, they've been more accomplished now, I think, than ever before. For those of us that are really impatient, just take a breath. Let it unfold, right? The machine in Washington doesn't move as fast as we'd like it to, but it's moving in the right direction. Safe to say?
Definitely safe to say. I'm as impatient as the next person is, especially working, on these Second Amendment problems every single day. So, I get, it bothers me a whole lot that things move as slowly as they do, but things have already moved pretty fast. There's just a whole lot that we have to try to get done and got to get it done, not in 4 years under Trump, but in the first 2, because we don't know what's going to happen in the midterm election.
That's a great point. So let me throw this at you. If there was one thing you'd like to see this administration do, just one right now, if they could do it tomorrow, or DOJ, combination thereof, what would that be? Is there anything that comes to mind that you'd like to see happen right now, today, if possible?
God, it's more than one thing. First of all, on the legal front, I'd like to see the Department of Justice, in more cases, they've already done it in some, taking Second Amendment rights positions before the courts on behalf of gun owners, protecting our constitutional rights the way the Justice Department should be doing. But there's significant more of those cases need to be done. Also, I'm very impatient and love it to happen today. There's almost, I believe, 70 vacancies in the U.S. courts at the federal level that need to be filled ASAP. and moving forward on that. Democrats are trying to do everything they can to stall the few appointments Trump has already made from being confirmed. But we need to move really quickly on that. And there are also some stuff in some other executive orders that need to be done fairly fast. So it's hard for me to say what I want immediately. But I think if we take a look at where the motion is moving, the direction we're going, and the statements Trump is making and what he's doing to the general public to reinforce that we do have Second Amendment rights, with his bully pulpit, that's been very, very important.
ATF, that's on everybody's mind. It's always been on everybody's mind. And now what we've seen with force reset triggers, et cetera, we've seen the Vanderstock case. Is there any chance? People are asking. I get the question all the time, and we talk about it. It's because the ATF is always up to something. Get rid of it, defund it. It's go. I like what I'm seeing with the actions taken by DOJ with ATF at this point, but that's one of those little hot buttons where people say it isn't happening fast enough. Just get rid of it and let the FBI handle it. I don't know if that's going to happen. New director Driscoll, right direction with the ATF though, right? At least for now.
Right direction, but I want to caution our people here. We've all had problems with the ATF over the years, and we don't like to see it go. But the problem that everybody needs to recognize, Mark, is that if the ATF is gone tomorrow, all the underlying laws that enforce us are still on the books. Somebody is going to enforce those. It may be the FBI directly, it may be another agency, but the problem is if even with ATF gone, it's the laws that are on the books that are the problem. So you be careful what you wish for. As an example, ATF is pretty tarnished. Their budget is not astronomical,
right,
compared to other agencies. If you got rid of ATF tomorrow and the underlying laws are still there to be enforced, say on the agencies like the FBI, which is bigger, has a much bigger budget, significant more manpower, is going to be out there enforcing those laws. And the odds are the employees at ATF will get transferred to other agencies and still be there enforcing those laws. So again, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes it's better to have the ATF doing it because they're more incompetent, they have less of a budget, and so on one hand, while it's great to scream out red meat for the troops, so to speak, abolish ATF, it's the underlying laws that really are our problems. That's what we got to abolish and get rid of.
Yeah, you're right. And as far as the rulemaking process is concerned, there's a lot of movement that we would like to see, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we're just going to have to watch it unfold, but the direction is good. And you mentioned ATF budget. Roughly $450 million of their budget has been cut out of a $1.6 billion budget, which is a significant portion. So do you expect to see a slowdown? I do. That's just my opinion. If you're going to cut that amount of the budget, ATF knows what direction it's going under this DOJ, particularly with Kash Patel at the head of the FBI, et cetera, potentially making some moves. Bondi, I just see them being a little bit neutered, and that makes me feel a little warm and fuzzy. Just not quite warm and fuzzy enough, but warm and fuzzy. So I'll kind of leave it at that and let you put an exclamation point
I think
there.
I think the proof, Mark, that your feelings are correct are the fact if you look at the gun prohibition organizations in our country, they're all jumping up and down about how the ATF has been neutered. So you should feel that way because the other side is saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's a great point, ladies and gentlemen. So do feel good about it. And I know everybody's impatient. We, particularly those of you who are not just casual listeners to the program but are very well vested into what we're talking about here. Maybe some of you are gun shop owners or represent manufacturers. You're part of the industry. Maybe you're trained, whatever it may be. It's moving in the right direction, albeit maybe a little slower than we want, but you just heard Alan say it's moving in the right direction. When we come back from this break, Alan, I got to go to Snopes with the assault weapons ban case, 4th Circuit, Maryland. Ladies and gentlemen, it was put back up for conference just 2 days ago. Tomorrow, we're playing another waiting game on this case, and we'll get Alan's take on this. The emotional roller coaster ride here with this case that could put to bed every assault weapons ban case across the country, or ban, I should say. And those of you living behind the blue wall know just how important this is. We'll talk with Alan about that Snopes 4th Circuit case when we come back and try to read his feel. We'll be right back. Alan Gottlieb, one more segment. Don't go away.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Oh, indeed. You are back to Mark Walters. Thanks for that rejoin, Mike Gallagher. We love you. You can listen to Mike Gallagher on Salem Radio Network across the country, folks, every morning Eastern Time, 9 to noon, and every morning Pacific Time, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. You can do the math in between those time zones. You got that figured out because you know where you live. Figure it out. You know. Mike Gallagher, thanks, brother. We appreciate it. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom in front of this very powerful Sig Sauer microphone on lots of radio stations around the country from coast to coast, all coming to you from the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. And make sure to check out our newest partner, Attorneys for Freedom. Mark Victor was great. Can't wait to have him back on the program. Boy, we love our self-defense attorneys, guys. We learn so much from them. But good heavens, make sure to check out their program at attorneysforfreedom.com. They are the real deal. And if you've ever wanted one, well, now you got one. It's real simple, and it's like $35 a month, and they cover everything. It's that simple. Alan Gottlieb, founder, Second Amendment Foundation. Welcome back. Let's now move to that Fourth Circuit Snopes case. Alan, I can't say I'm getting tired of talking with you about this, but this has been going on a long, long time. And here we are. I mean, I've lost count of how many conferences. I think it's around 15 to 17 at this point. I'm going to guess it's in record territory. But again, Monday, we await another decision. You know, I don't, at this point, I still feel really good that if they wanted to deny cert on this case, they would have already done it. I just don't see him pushing this out. I think it might just be a timing thing. That's what my gut is telling me. Our docket's too big. Let's just keep putting it out. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it eventually. But this case is so important. My gosh, how do you feel about it now?
Frustrated because I mean it's at least 15 relists, and you might be up to the 17 that you mentioned. I've lost count as well.
Yeah.
You know, I agree. If they weren't going to take it for sure, it would have already been gone. I think there's lots of things that could be slowing it down. And first of all, let's be honest. The Trump administration has over 300 lawsuits against it by various state attorney generals and left-wing organizations. And the Supreme Court has had to dealt on their special calendar with dealing with a whole lot of emergency motions the Trump administration has made about some of those cases and lower court decisions. The court is overwhelmed right now. And, of course, the anti-gun lobby is probably very happy about those suits because that means less of our gun rights suits can get heard. So it's very, very frustrating. I don't know the exact reason why at this point. They could be waiting for a few more cases to come up so they can combine them and take them all together. It could be lots of things. But there's no doubt there's an interest by a number of the judges wanting to hear this case. And basically, if they want to hear the case, in my opinion, it's because they want to overturn the ban on assault weapons in the state of Maryland, which will also affect bans in a number of other states as well. So I'm still optimistic about it. I'm hopeful about it. But I'm frustrated just like you, and I'm sure all your listeners are.
Yeah, especially those of you living in that Fourth Circuit right now. You clearly want to get this case heard, and I'm right there with you. I lost count at around 15. I think it's 15, 16, or 17, but nonetheless, good heavens. But again, I have to point out, there is no time frame. They can do what they want, can't they? I mean, this could drag on for as long as they want it to drag on or not, right?
Yeah, and it could be a simple thing at this point on the calendar that there's so many cases already taken for next year that have a problem, and so they just want to keep relisting it so they can maybe hear it the year after. Who knows? I mean, it's just the fact that it's hung around this long, and the court has been so familiar with the Snopes case, which initially was Bianchi to start with, and then changed because of plaintiffs. But it's been up and down to the court before. This isn't the first time it's been with the Supreme Court. They've reversed and remanded it down, before to be reheard based on various, things to build a stronger record for the case. So they're very familiar with it. And there's no doubt that the 3 liberal anti-gun judges on the court are never going to want to take the case. But there are 6 judges there that, should be extremely interested in taking the case. So I feel good about it, but, again, a right delayed is a right denied, like I always say, and we're all frustrated because we want our rights back immediately.
And I want to look at it in this way too before I move on with you with the time that we have left. It would seem very odd to me, ladies and gentlemen, with everything that you just heard from Alan and everything that we've talked about both on this broadcast for months. It's stretched out into a couple of years now at least. and on our Armed American Radio Daily Defense Show. It would seem very odd to me with what you just heard from Alan that the case would just be denied all of a sudden. It just doesn't. There's just something about it. That's just a gut feel. But golly, Alan, I mean, we've all seen judges do crazy stuff. You never know how a judge or judges or justices are going to wake up on any particular morning. You just never know. Now, Second Amendment Foundation has a lot of cases going on. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the plug for Second Amendment Foundation, because we need your help over there, okay? SAF.org, SAF.org. You can join us. It's really simple to do. You can do a monthly membership. You can do an annual. You can do a life membership. But just take a listen. If you go over to the legal tab at the top of the SAF page, you are going to find dozens of current ongoing cases fighting for you across the country. Here's just at the top on the 17th of April, Escher v. Noble challenged some Massachusetts young adult handgun acquisition and carry ban. So very hot topic right now, Alan. Republicans refusing to overturn the 18 to 20 year ban. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me. The Republican legislature refusing in Florida so far. NRA is now filing another challenge in that case down there in Florida. But this is a big topic right now because 18 to 20-year-olds are essentially being, to be friendly FCC, just banged right out of their rights to keep and bear arms, or at least to carry a handgun, in many cases rifles, across the country. This case is important, Alan. It doesn't matter. It's just Massachusetts. These lead to bigger things. How many of these cases have we had so far?
On the 18 to 20-year-old, I've lost count, but I think we might be closing in on a dozen.
Wow.
And of course, you're refreshing your listeners' memories. We just won one in Minnesota that went up to the Supreme Court on appeal. The state of Minnesota appealed it. We won at the trial court level. We won at the appeals court level. Minnesota's Attorney General appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court denied cert, allowing our victory to stand. That's a good sign. Yeah,
Sukow v. Bondi also is a challenge to Connecticut's. But here, ladies and gentlemen, there are other cases that matter too. The Langston v. Humphreys case, Alan, a lot of people don't think about taxes, but the Second Amendment Foundation fights these cases on a lot of different fronts. This is a challenge to Colorado. Colorado, you're listening. You got a lot of problems. I don't have to tell you that. We've covered them almost ad nauseum on the program with representatives from your state. But this is a challenge to Colorado's 6.5% tax on firearms and ammunition. So the SAF is fighting this on all fronts, Alan. I love to hear that.
Yeah, we've got assault and ban challenges. We've got magazine capacity size challenges. We've got the 18 to 20 challenges. We've got taxing Second Amendment rights out of existing challenges. We have restoration rights challenges. We have, all things all across the board. I think we're somewhere close to around 60 suits that are actively engaged in federal court right now. And there's, I think, 4 or 5 on the drawing board ready for us to file as soon as we have funding for them.
Yeah, and that's the important part, ladies and gentlemen. If you just heard Alan, those are the operative words, right? When we have funding for them. And it requires us to back the Second Amendment Foundation to fight for our right to bear arms. And Alan, who knows what's going to happen in California? They're trying to ban Glocks. Hawaii representative wants to create a registry on just about everything. Ladies and gentlemen, it is ongoing. And Alan, I'll just say this. Our good friend Parkland Dad Ryan Petty made it very clear on Friday's broadcast or Thursday's broadcast last week. Maybe it was Wednesday's. I lost track. The left will never stop, ever. Alan Gottlieb, we love you. Welcome back. It's great to have you here, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. That's the great Alan Gottlieb, the legend, the man himself, who is out there fighting for your right to keep and bear arms every day. And guys, he and the organization, we, if you're a member, can't do it without you. So please visit saf.org and join us. Donate whatever you can. Couch change works just fine. We'll take it. SAF.org. When we come back, AWR Hawkins at the top of the hour, John Lott at the bottom, and a classic roundtable. See you on the flip side.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
On the Armed American Radio Network. This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Oh, guys, welcome back. Hour 2 of Armed American Radio's Monster Cast begins right now. If you're rejoining the broadcast, welcome back. If you're just joining the broadcast, welcome in. We love you guys. Thanks for being here. Of course, Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom here today in the Car Firearms Group studios in front of this very powerful 6-hour microphone being busted out on hundreds of radio stations around the nation, tons of digital cable stations. Online, you can watch us at facebook.com here at Patriot Mobile Ranch. We appreciate it. And you can also participate in the chats. Guys, if you're watching on social media, repost it. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're on YouTube, share it. If you're on Rumble, share it. If you're on X, share it. Repost it. Help us take control of our social media back. They've been hamstringing us for years, and it's finally opening up. We need your help to open it up. So engage. We would appreciate that very much. Greg in Dallas, Tejas, how you doing, my brother from another mother?
Not too bad. You're
Not the
right. That first
shit.
hour just blew right by.
That was a great hour, man. Holy crap. That was really good, guys. If you missed it, let me just give you this disclaimer here. You want to go back and get the podcast, I can promise you. Mark Victor for Attorneys for Freedom was here. It was a great interview. I can't wait to bring him in for a solid hour, if not longer. I mean, I could go with the attorneys forever. It's so fun to talk to them. We learn so much from them, no doubt. And a half hour just isn't enough time. And Alan Gottlieb, he's back. Man, what a great half hour that was. There's so much going on behind the scenes fighting for your right to keep and bear arms. And Alan's at the tip of the spear when it comes to those cases, man. Good heavens. Greg, if you would be kind enough to tell people where to watch the program on social media, participate in the chats, we'll get over to AWR Hawkins over at Breitbart News.
Yeah, sure. Real quick, you can watch the show over on YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, it's at AAR Mark, and you can also go to armedamericanradio.org or .com, click the menu icon, and select your watch live, listen live, or podcast options. If you want to join our live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That'll do it. Thanks, guys. AWR, Breitbart News. How you doing, brother?
Great to be with you.
Always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Always a pleasure. Welcome back to the program. Been out a couple weeks. We missed you. Just like Alan, it's great to have you guys back. It's like the band's back together. Great stuff. AWR, a lot going on out there. You've got a lot happening over at Breitbart News. I'm just going to run down the list with you. And I'm going to start with Rhode Island Democrats pushing semi-automatic rifle, shotgun, and pistol ban. And I think the reason that that's a great place to start with you is because we talked with Mr. Gottlieb about that Fourth Circuit Maryland case that is now 15, 16, 17 times at conference. We will know tomorrow by 10 a.m. whether the court has declined cert, agreed to take the case, or pushed it off to another conference and said nothing about it. And now here in the process, we've got states like Colorado, we've got states like Washington, states like Massachusetts, and now the latest Rhode Island pushing semi-automatic rifle bans. Illinois, you've been living through it forever, too, behind that blue wall. What are they doing in Rhode Island? Rhode Island.
You know, Rhode Island's pushing a ban that would end up in a lot like Colorado's ban. They're targeting so-called assault weapons. What they'll end up banning are rifles, numerous shotguns, and pistols. And the way they do this is, if you have a pistol, and you can do it, I'm not even going to say the name of it because I don't want anyone to think I'm saying something derisive. But if I've got a pistol that it's made where it has a rail on top and a rail on bottom, but it's a pure pistol, you can put a foregrip on it if you want. If you do that, they no longer consider it a pistol, they consider it an assault weapon, just because you put the grip on it. And so that's how this bill is written. And what I pointed out, like a lot of these bans around the country, Mark, they'll target detachable magazines of a certain capacity. This does that, but it goes beyond that. If it's a shotgun and it's semi-automatic and it has a fixed magazine but holds more than 6 rounds, it's an assault weapon.
Oh, come on.
If it is a semi-automatic rifle and it has a fixed magazine but it holds more than 10 rounds, it's an assault weapon. So see, it's all just it's an arbitrary game with these people And what folks need to understand, the best way to understand this is to get to the first cause, get down there where you can understand all of this, and you do it by understanding Democrats hate your freedom. They hate it. And the sponsor of this bill has admitted, and I wrote it, he admits this bill won't fix things, but he says it's one more step. He says it's one more step they can take, but they already have other steps in mind. This is neither the beginning nor the end. It's just what they think they can do now, and then next year they'll do something else and something else. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so this is just a start. And I do want to point out, I love the word you use, derisive. For those of you liberals who might be listening to the program, if you can stomach this program, and maybe you haven't picked up a book or a dictionary in a long time, it means AWR didn't want to show contempt for you, essentially. He didn't want to appear to ridicule you. So I like that word. That's a fun word. Oh, that's fun to say. I like that. AWR Hawkins, we love you for lots of different reasons, brother. But the bottom line here is you're spot on. And I think what's most important about what you just said is it's just a start, right? It's always just a start. There's never any end until when they take your guns. And, you know, the assault weapons ban of 2025 AWR lists dozens of guns by model number and manufacturer that they don't want you to have. And out of the other side of their mouth, at the same time, they're saying no one wants to take your guns while they're listing the guns they want to take from you. Who takes these people seriously?
Right. No, that's what they want to do. And
man, it's something else.
What you have to understand is they don't have to come for your guns. Talked about this before. They can just pass these laws.
Mm-hmm.
And they pass these laws, and states have done this, plenty of examples, but they pass these laws, and they say, what we're going to do is, if you already own them, we're going to grandfather them in, and you can keep them. Well, then next year or 2 years later, they say, we're going to lift the grandfather clause.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll give you 1 year to turn them in, and if you turn them in during that amnesty period, no charges against you. But after that 1 year, then it becomes a class whatever felony. And that's how they'll do this. And then you're driving to the range, you get pulled over for speeding, the trooper or the local PD says, let's have a look. They look and they say, what are you doing with this gun? There's no grandfather clause anymore. And boom, you've got a felony and they take your gun. That's how they will do this. It is through this gun control that goes step by step by step. And the sheep just keep their heads down and the sheep just keep going, bah, bah. And they think, well, I've already got a gun, so I'm fine. It doesn't matter. They will pass a law, and they will eventually hook you for having that gun. So you've got to understand, you've got to stop this. You've got to take a day off work and show up when they're having these hearings, and you have to make your voice heard. You have to join groups. Everybody should be a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, should be a member of Gun Owners of America, should be a member of the NRA. Everybody should be a member of those three groups. And I'm going to throw out National Association for Gun Rights. Dudley Brown is doing a knockdown, drag-out job there.
Yeah,
so,
they have.
You know, pick a couple of those groups and join them. And because some of us, because of our work, we can't show up. We're not like these hippies that Mike Bloomberg hires. He gives them a Subway sandwich and a placard and a T-shirt, and they can stand there all day, and he buses them in. We're not like that because we have jobs. So if you're a member of one of these groups go for you. So that's what I'm saying. You can't really understand just how great it is to be a member of one of these groups. Get them out there fighting for you.
Yeah, and you mentioned what their eventual ultimate goal is, if they're going to remove the grandfather. Ladies and gentlemen, in AWR, you know this. There are some of you listening who maybe turned in your forced reset triggers. There are some of you listening who turned in your bump stocks, got rid of them, destroyed them. Why? So you didn't become a felon, because those laws or rules, I'm not going to say laws because they weren't laws, they weren't signed into law, they were rules, made you a felon overnight. So think about that on a mass scale when it comes to AWR, America's most popular rifle, of which there are over 30 plus million across the country right now. That's what they have in store for you. Let's talk about the force reset triggers since I mentioned that. Greg, how much time do I have in this break before
50.
I've got 50 seconds. AWR will start the conversation about force reset triggers and come back because DOJ made another move and said, no, Second Amendment protects that right, AWR. That's a beautiful thing, and you've written about it. Let's just lead us into it. We've got 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, one of the things they said, what they were basically doing, it's a Biden-era rule against these triggers. And National Association for Gun Rights filed a lawsuit to block the rule. And Trump's DOJ, the lawsuit could continue. It's National Association for Gun Rights versus Garland. Mm-hmm. And Trump's DOJ said, look, we're not going to continue this suit. We're pulling out. And one of the reasons we're pulling out is the Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed.
When we come back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue the conversation. Oklahoma, great new law signed into bill there by Governor Stitt that went into effect immediately. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about NBC. We'll go a little bit further into the forced reset triggers for those of you who might not know what it is. We'll be back with AWR right after the break. Don't go away. This segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Don't forget to use the promo code AAR at MyPillow.com. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back to the show, guys. Always a pleasure to be here with you here in the Car Firearms Group studios and this monster cast being heard on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. Of course, Car Firearms Group Studios is lit up here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center Ranch. You can check out all of our great partners. You can find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. You just heard MyPillow on the rejoins, and you just heard about Bud's Gun Shop. Of course, Bud's Gun Shop up in Lexington, Kentucky. Let me give a shout to those guys. Northern Kentucky got pummeled with tornadoes, and man, it's just heartbreaking. I have people who I know that live up in that area, and London, Kentucky got hit really hard. Place near and dear to my heart. AWR, you know it well. Last time I was in London, Kentucky, I sent you a snapshot of me getting some White Castle burgers on the way up to Bud's Gun Shop at that London, Kentucky White Castle. So, guys, you're in our thoughts up there. You're listening in Lexington and Louisville and a couple other places. And AWR, you hail originally from Kentucky, so it's tough to see that footage. Greg and I were talking about it during the break. So, thoughts and prayers to each and every single one of you. I can promise you our family has prayed for you. And, ladies and gentlemen, keep them in your thoughts. AWR Hawkins, welcome back, brother.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, so this force reset trigger issue, let's jump back over there. Now, this is different than a bump stock, but I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, the quote here. I think it's important. Well, before I do that, AWR, you have experience with force reset triggers?
I've shot them before.
What do you think of them?
Takes a little practice.
It does.
Bump stock's the same, but it takes a little practice because you've got a trigger that the force reset is just that. The title gives it away. You've got a trigger that it has springs, in some case more than one spring, that's bringing that trigger back to a reset position as soon as you fire it.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for that to happen, you have to be cooperating with the amount of pressure you're putting on the trigger. What's very important is you still only get one shot per trigger pull, period. It is a semi-automatic firearm, even with a force reset trigger. But the trigger works with you so that you can pull it faster. That's how it works, because it hits reset so quick. Boom, you can fire another shot. Boom, you can fire another shot. That's how it works. And it's like certain liqueurs or liquors or whatever you might want to say. Some people say this or that. It's an acquired taste. It's an acquired skill to use these triggers. And I'm not saying that you can't do it, but they're not as simple. Liberals don't understand anything. They hear force reset trigger, machine gun.
Yeah,
they have no idea. They have no idea how this works, and they didn't understand bump stocks. They don't understand this. Unfortunately, they've lost on this one.
Yeah, and let me quote Dudley Brown. Again, another shout out to Dudley and NAGR over there at NAGR, because they really have been at the forefront of this. And you quote him. His comment is, "This is a major victory over the ATF's ludicrous prosecution of rare breed triggers and their forced reset triggers. Now we're turning our sights on the many other infringements of the Second Amendment." So it's really good to see these groups, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not a member of these groups, rethink. You heard AWR in the previous segment. My gosh, if you're not a member of the National Rifle Association, if you're not a member of SAF, if you're not a member, if you live out in Colorado in particular, NAGR and Dudley Brown and the rest of them, Gun Owners of America, join these groups. It really is couch change to do so, and these are the ones that are fighting. Trump's in office. We're all no, you're not. And if you live in one of those 12 blue states, you know you're not. Good heavens, now's the time to get out and fight. So please, this is how it gets done. Let's shift over to Oklahoma. So Kevin Stitt, the governor over there, and I love stories like this, and I'll just read your headline. New Oklahoma law allows gun to be brandished in defense of property now, and that's the operative word, property. But this is interesting because they break down really what brandishing means. They explain it in the law. And that would be a defensive display of a firearm, ladies and gentlemen, that AWR points out includes verbally informing another person that you possess a firearm or have one available. I've got a gun. Think of yourself protecting property. Maybe you got a barn somewhere out in your property and you find somebody there that's not supposed to be there. Exposing or displaying the weapon in a manner where a reasonable person would understand that it's meant to protect against unlawful force. And 3, placing your hand on a firearm while it's in a pocket, purse, holster, sling, scabbard, a case, or other means of containment or transport. And I love that one, AWR, because in the state of Georgia, for example, a lot of people don't realize this, you can actually be charged for aggravated assault by mimicking that you may have a gun, even if you do not, and the other person believes you might, if you do so in an unlawful situation where the use of that gun would not be lawful. Okay? So there's that whole dynamic in play there too. But this, again, another move and another step forward in Oklahoma, and we commend the governor for signing it. Take it away.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm like you. I love Governor Stitt. I mean,
yeah.
I don't hold that he is an Oklahoma State cowboy. I don't hold that he went to that school against him, even though I'm a Red Raider. There's backstory to that. The first time I interviewed him, he talked quite a bit of trash to me because our schools were fixing to play each other. But no, he's a great guy. I've been with him at SHOT. I've interviewed him while he's at his office in Oklahoma. He's a great guy, and he is like, you look at him, you look at Greg Abbott in Texas, you look at in Montana, you look at the governor in Florida. There are many others, but I'm just naming. There are governors who literally love the Second Amendment, and he's one of them.
Yeah, and it means a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to those of you in Oklahoma. Guys, if you're behind the blue wall, we'd love to be reading stories about this, about your state. New Jersey, by the way, some interesting stuff going on in New Jersey. Trump is polling very high in New Jersey. Could New Jersey flip? Ooh. Yeah, we're going to work on getting the hopefully future governor on the program. I was talking with Mr. Gottlieb about that last week, but that's for another show. So is NBC still giving us a bunch of crap and lies? AWR Hawkins, let's have some fun at NBC News' expense. My gosh, man, it never stops.
Yeah, after this forced trigger deal, the DOJ dropped, did the settlement, and so that you can have them and such. NBC News claimed that machine guns, because of course to them a forced trigger is a machine gun because they're ignorant. They claim machine guns have been illegal in the U.S. since 1986.
Yeah.
Well, that's the dumbest thing ever.
Not true.
People are probably buying and selling machine guns in states throughout the country during this interview. The only rule that applies to machine guns is that it had to be made prior to May 19th, 1986.
The Hughes Amendment.
Well, those were decades and decades and decades of machine guns being made. And every one of those machine guns, if it was lawfully possessed May 19th, 1986, then right now that can be bought and sold citizen to citizen. Now you have to go through NFA terms, which is ridiculous, but buying and selling them is no problem. The catch is because there's a finite number, because it's only the machine guns that were made in those decades prior to May 19th, 1986, because it's a finite number, then what you have is you have greater demand than you do supply. So anybody understands what that means. The price for these guns can get astronomical. Now, if you're buying a machine gun, let's say an Uzi or something very simple and basic like that, you could probably acquire that for, I would say, $8,000 to $12,000 or $13,000.
Yeah,
and depending on the condition and this and that. But I had a friend die. He had 3 machine guns when he died, and I helped his wife sell one of them, and that one machine netted $7,000. And I was there.
AWR?
Machine gun, I was like, hold up, I sold one.
We love you, brother. Thank you. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. We love him for a reason. Fan favorite for a reason. Always never enough time for all of our guests, even during a 3-hour broadcast. AWR Hawkins at Breitbart News. When we come back, Dr. John Lott. Don't go away. Great program tonight, guys. I hope you're enjoying it. Lots of fun. It's flying right by. Buckle in. The second half of the show is just going to boogie right on. I can promise you that. But a lot of great information. And we're going to have a fun conversation with Dr. Lott as well. We're going to compare and contrast a couple issues that John and I were discussing earlier today. I think you'll find it fascinating. We had Dr. Lott on the broadcast with us on Friday, and there's an hour with John is just simply not enough time. We couldn't get to it all. But nonetheless, we're going to do our level best to get as much in as we can with John. I can promise you this. It's going to be extremely, extremely informative. It always is when it comes to John. So stick with us. We'll be back in about 4 minutes on the flip side of this break.
Talking my ear off.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Yeah, Daniel Defense is freedom, passion, and precision, ladies and gentlemen. DanielDefense.com. Make sure to check them out. I have that DDM, and I've got a couple of Daniel Defense rifles, the V7 and the DDM 4A1, and they are remarkable rifles. And I'm looking at doing some mods to a couple of them here down the road. I'll keep you posted on that. But they're wonderful. You can check them out at DanielDefense.com, DanielDefense.com. And I've asked you for months,
On hold.
please get on their email list. It's one of those emails that you're going to love to get. You'll save whatever you're doing. Go, ooh, I got that Daniel Defense email. I want to read that while I'm eating dinner or drinking a cup of coffee, whatever it is, because there's just so much cool stuff in there. You're not going to get hit with a bunch of spam. You're just going to get some really fun stuff from Daniel Defense. And you can find them at armedamericanradio.com or .org. We got them both covered for you. In addition to that, you can find all of our great partners. Every single one of them are there for you at armedamericanradio.com, including Ammo Squared, ammosquared.com. You can feed all of your guns and stockpile ammo without having to take up a bunch of room in your house. And if you're like me, I have a lot of ammo. I love stocking up ammo. It's just one of those cool things. You get that little thing, I want more ammo. Ammo Squared has you covered. They keep it in a climate-controlled warehouse. And if you want it, they ship it to you immediately. All you have to do is go online and say ship, and you can tell them what quantity you want. They will ship it directly to you, no questions asked. Or you can do like me. I'm just stockpiling it and watching it add up. And it's like a 401k for your ammo stock, and I don't get yelled at for taking up too much space. Where can we put this? Can you move this? Can you put this in storage? Whatever it may be. Okay? ammosquared.com. They have you covered. Don't forget barrelbuddy.com and also emersonKnives.com. Use the promo code AAR at Emerson Knives and take 10% off one of those beautiful knives from Emerson Knives. Ernie Emerson and his family, Megan and the rest of them, they're great. They're made right here in the United States of America. Let's go to Dr. John Lott, founder of crimeresearch.com. Dr. Lott, welcome in, brothers. Always fun to have you here. I guess we got to continue a conversation. We ran out of time with you on Friday. I apologize. How you doing, John?
Oh, doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. We never have enough time on the show. We never, ever have enough time. It's pretty much that simple. There's a couple things. I want to go here, but it's a great segue for this because AWR Hawkins and I were just talking about the new Oklahoma law that changes how guns can be used to protect property and what defensive display means. And in that piece, John, let me just a couple quotes here. Oklahomans can now legally point a firearm or other weapon at someone if they are defending their home, private property, or business under a new law signed by Governor Kevin Stitt. Existing state law, which is not anymore because it was signed, so this is no longer the new law is existing. Existing state law allows people to point weapons in self-defense, but HB 2818 expands the justified defensive display of a firearm or other deadly weapon to include defense of property. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the piece, but down at the bottom, in the last paragraph, it says, after that law went into effect, and they're referring, ladies and gentlemen, to constitutional carry, when constitutional carry went into effect in Oklahoma, and this is a piece from the Oklahoman, it says, and I quote, and we'll start the discussion here. After that law went into effect, constitutional carry, the average number of gun deaths per month increased nearly 20% compared to the 10 years before the new law went into effect, a period in which the population grew just over 6% according to a 2022 analysis. And John, when you go over to that 2022 analysis, it pretty much says in there, there's really no way they can really point to that law. It says whether the state's permitless carry law directly contributed to a rise in gun violence is difficult to determine. But so what? How does this work? And you do tons of research.
Okay, so here's what they did. The law went into effect in 2019. They looked at what happened to crime rates during 2020 and the very beginning of 2021. And they said, look, compared to prior to 2020, crime went up in 2020 and the beginning of 2021. In one place in the article, they mentioned that nationwide crime went up. Mm-hmm. And that's true. And so what you want to do is you want to say, when Oklahoma passed its law, how did its crime rate change relative to other places that didn't change their law at that time? And so you'd want to know, did it go up less? Did it go up more? They don't break it down. Carl Moody and I on our website at crimeresearch.org, and we published peer-reviewed research on this that people can find if they just go to the, if you scroll down the page, you can see, click on constitutional carry, and it'll take you to all the studies that we've done there. The point is that crime goes up and down nationally for many reasons. And you want to try to control for other factors like policing and arrest rates and conviction rates and other things like that. But what you find is that states that adopted constitutional carry saw a drop in their murder rates relative to other places. They also saw a drop in deaths of police officers relative to other places. And so, I just simply saying that crime went up in 2020, I don't know if your listeners know this, but there were some unusual things that happened in 2020. I think there was something called COVID or something like that was happening. And I just have these vague recollections of something like that happening during that time.
China virus.
And I thought it was pretty well known that crime soared during that year, and to go and attribute it to constitutional carry when this is crime going up nationally during that period just doesn't make a lot of sense. And as I say, if you look at all the states over many years, what you find is that the constitutional carry states saw a drop in murder and drop in other types of crimes relative to the non-constitutional carry states.
But John, pointing that out just doesn't make the juice, does it? It's just not juicy to point that out. And I found that little disclaimer interesting. Whether the state's permitless carry law, in quotes, directly contributed to a rise in gun violence is difficult to determine. Well, if it's difficult to determine, why
I don't even find that. Yeah, I don't even find that a useful qualification. They need to go beyond that and just say, did it go up as much as it went up nationally in all these other places that didn't have constitutional carry?
Well, they never will. And now let's go back to the permit deal, because, again, I know it's made studying, and correct me if I'm wrong, has it made your studies difficult? We've talked about it briefly before. But without a permit number and without I guess what I'm saying is with an unknown quantity of people carrying firearms in that state, because they're not required to have a permit now, where you could go back and look at that data, which you've done and done great work on that. How do you account for that now?
Right. Well, look, I mean, there are questions that you can't answer when you have constitutional carry. So one thing that comes up in the gun control debate is that people who are carrying, behave irresponsibly. They go out and commit crimes themselves. Well, that's pretty easy to evaluate under right to carry laws, because you know the number of people who have permits, and you know the number of people who get in trouble, and you know that it's a very tiny percentage, as you and I have talked about many times. Concealed carry permit holders lose their licenses for any type of firearms violation at about 1/12 the rate that police officers are convicted of firearms-related crimes. So they're extremely law-abiding in that sense. And now, there are other things that you can look at. It'd be nice, anybody who's read More Guns, Less Crime know that one of the things that I look at is as the percentage of the adult population with a permit increases, you see drops in crime, violent crime. But you can't really do that too well under constitutional carry. There, you can try to control for whether a state has that, and we have research that we've had published in academic journals that indicate that when you have constitutional carry, I think it's pretty clear that there's an increase in the number of people who are carrying.
Yeah, John, hold on to that. Hold on to that, John. Hold on to that. When we come back, we'll let you pick up where we left off. That, ladies and gentlemen, that music means we're taking a break. It is a hard break. I can't float it, so bear with us. We'll be back with Dr. Lott. Wrap up on permitless carry, go in a couple different directions with John. But I do want to make a statement about that permitless carry as well, because it might be pretty obvious to a lot of you. We'll be right back.
following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, you can do that. It's real simple to do. patriotmobile.com/Armed American Radio. patriotmobile.com/Armed American Radio. If you're watching on your television sets or devices, this is a Patriot Mobile activated phone. You can do the same thing. Visit patriotmobile.com, and guess what happens if I don't drop it over there? You get a month free. It's pretty much that simple, and they've got tons of new products coming out over there. Make sure to visit them for everything Patriot Mobile. Of course, we're at the Patriot Mobile Ranch, Sig Sauer Mike fired up, Car Firearms Group Studios. Let's go back to Dr. John Lott. Dr. Lott, I'm going to let you finish that. Before I do that, I want to make one point about this when I look at this, because I look at this, I don't look at this from the way you do as far as the studies are concerned. I look at this just from the simpleton mind, okay, which is really easy for me to do. Well, let's see. Permitless carry goes into effect. You would really have to believe, John, that in order to believe what they're saying or what they're insinuating in this, by even admitting in the latest piece that there's no way they can say whether or not there's a correlation, but it just looks good. It gives them the juice. It gives them the squeeze so they can make it look like that's the correlation there. But I look at it this way. Look, you would have to believe that criminals woke up one day and went, oh, look, governor signed permitless carry. So now I'm going to carry my gun to commit crime. They're doing that anyway. They're doing that anyway because they are, in fact, criminals. I find it hard to believe a criminal waited for a law to change so that they could break that law to finally begin committing crimes. John, that's just the way my simple mind looks at that. It's pretty clear, and then you're able to break it down statistically that way. And I guess the overarching question is, has it made it harder for you to do that or to defend some of these positions because there's no way to have a number, because we don't know now? And maybe time will tell as we get more studies over the years.
Well, there are two issues. One is the type of example that you're giving, where somebody knew that they were going to commit a crime to begin with. The second one is gun control advocates will argue that they didn't intend to commit a crime to begin with, but in the heat of the moment or something, people lost their cool and went and killed somebody else. With right to carry laws, where I have the number of permits, I know the number of people who have a permit, and I can look at the rate that people get in trouble. I can go and show you how, what a tiny percentage of permit holders get in trouble. I can't do that with constitutional carry. Now, there are other things we can do. We just have a study. People can go to our website at crimeresearch.org, right up at the top, that looks at these active shooting cases that the FBI has kept track of. These are instances where a gun's fired in public, not part of some other type of crime like a robbery or a gang fight over drug turf, anything from one person being shot at and missed all the way up to a mass public shooting. And one of the things we find is that the rate of those shootings actually goes down when states adopt constitutional carry type laws. We can just see how does it fall in those places that adopt these laws relative to other places that don't. And if you've tried to account for other types of factors that could affect these crimes. And we have other things, other data that we look at, as I mentioned before, that looks at, people can find at our website, which looks at murders and deaths of police officers and other things. And so, you can go and see, you can't do it with quite the same precision that you could do it with right to carry laws, but you still can get a basic idea what happens to crime rates in states that adopt these laws relative to other places. You just don't do what this article did and just say, let's look at 2020 and just see whether crime went up in 2020 relative to years before COVID. There's, as we mentioned, there's every place in the country, basically, it went up in 2020.
Yeah, the summer of love, right? But again, I go back to that simple mind deal. You talk about how in every place where permitless carry or constitutional carry, ladies and gentlemen, is enacted, it's permitless in Florida. It's constitutional carry everywhere else. There's my dig at Florida. Fix your problems down there, Florida. And it's the Republicans.
I disagree. I mean, it's constitutional carry in Florida. I mean, just because they don't have it so that people
Open
can
carry.
carry openly. I mean, that's different. Very, very few people carry openly anyway in places.
But to go back to the study, John, that you were just talking about, there's a couple of things I take away from that. I go back to that original argument that I made before. You talk about people lose their cool. I find it hard to believe that somebody loses their cool because all of a sudden there's permitless carry. Oh, now I can carry a gun.
I agree. You're not going to get an argument from me about that. I'm just telling you that's the type of argument that they will bring up on this. And so you can't, I'm just saying the type of argument that you're making deals with part of the issue, but it doesn't deal with the entire claim that the other side will make against you.
Yeah, and again, there's just common sense, folks. If you do not need the permit to carry anymore as a law-abiding person and you choose to exercise that right because you don't need a permit, it would only make sense. But John, how many times have we talked about that criminals fear law-abiding citizens in places where they know they're armed? So if there's more people carrying, it's going to go down.
Right. Well, that's the reason why we look at what happens to crime rates in states that adopt these laws relative to other states that aren't changing their laws, and we find that there is a drop in crime. That the exact thing that you're bringing up is what I think the evidence shows. And when you do kind of a more rigorous study of it than the type of discussion in a news article, which simply says crime went up in Oklahoma in 2020, you find that very clearly the opposite of what they worry about.
John, I'm just curious, would it make it easier for your studies if all of the states became constitutional carry, if there were 50 states, or is it easier to make comparisons when 29 states, 30 states are versus all? How would that work from a research standpoint? I'm just curious.
Well, you can't look. There are two issues here. One is, as more states change their laws, you can go and get more experiments. You can go and get more data. You're more likely to see if there's an effect. If you only have a couple states or a few states that change their laws, you're only going to find a statistically significant effect if the effect is very large. Mm-hmm. The more observations you have, you can find statistically significant, even if they're much smaller. But once you get to all the states having constitutional carry, there's really nobody else that you can compare it to.
Right.
And so, ideally, and it becomes more idiosyncratic as maybe you only have one or two or three states left, because there could be some unusual factor that's driving crime or causing it to fall or something in that one or two unusual states that haven't yet done it. And so, just like you don't want to look at just one state anyway, even, you wouldn't want to look at just Oklahoma.
Yeah, you want to make a large comparison. Sure.
You try to account for different factors, but if you're only looking at one place, you really can't account for more factors than you have experiments going on there.
It's an ongoing process, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty much that simple. John, real quick, we have 30 seconds left. Tell people where they can find you and support you real quick.
Thanks. Well, they can find all the studies that we're talking about at our website at crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. The most recent one is right there at the top.
All right, Dr. John Lott, we appreciate it. Fan favorite for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. The roundtable coming up right after this, crimeresearch.org. Don't go away. We'll see you on the flip side. Thanks, John.
Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Whoa. Greg, I don't want to get ahead of my skis here, do I?
No.
It's Sunday evening. It's not the Daily Defense. It's Armed American Radio's Monster Cast, being heard on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. Welcome in, guys. Car Firearms Group studios are lit up for you. I got ahead of my skis there a little bit, kind of like Bondi did with the whole Epstein deal thing. It happens. It's no big deal. Because guess what? We're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Precisely why we do it. Welcome back in. If you're rejoining us, welcome back. If you're just joining the broadcast, welcome to a classic Armed American Radio roundtable here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch in the Car Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, 6 days a week, in front of this powerful Sig Sauer microphone here on this Sunday broadcast. Greg in Dallas, how you doing? Welcome in. Hour 3, Zoom, man.
Yeah, here we are. I've been leaning on the easy button, and here we are.
Man, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, the first 2 hours were great. I see no reason why this one's not going to be as well. We're going to talk about some fun stuff like James Idiot Comey and Joe Biden and all that stuff. I have my theories there, too. We'll tell you a little bit about that. But, Greg, we can be watched on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. You can participate in the chat there, and I'll let you take the rest away, and then we'll go to the group.
Yeah, sure. Other places on the show are our YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over there. On X, it's at AARMark, armedamericanradio.org or .com. Also, just click the menu icon and select your Listen Live, Watch Live, or Podcast link. And if you want to join our live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That'll do it. Let's go around the table. Let's start with Ryan Petty. Ryan, how you doing, brother?
Mark, it's great to be here with you. I'm calling from inside the house.
Oh, and you sound like you're right here in the studio with me. I love it. Ryan Petty, thanks
Stalking
for being here. Greg, say again. Did I miss something there?
I said he's stalking you because he's calling from inside your house.
He's inside my house. He's just in another part of the ranch over here is what it is. Pretty scary how good he sounds. Brad Primo, CEO Lead Slingers. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
Good. I can't wait to get your commentary on a couple of these topics we're going to talk about tonight. And, of course, Justin Moon, CEO Car Arms. We're in the Car Firearms Group studios. I know people can't wait to get your commentary on a couple of these items tonight. All of them. Justin, how you doing, man? Welcome in.
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, let's start with this, guys. I'm going to start with James Comey. I've been itching to talk with you guys about this. Ryan, I'll start down with you because I introduced you first. But James Comey supposedly finds shells on the beach that just happen to be laid out on his little beach walk that says 8647. We all know what that means, and we all know that James Comey knows what it means. He gets called out about it because he's an idiot for posting it. A grown man acting like some kid doing TikTok videos. I mean, the guy's just almost said a bad word, but he is living proof, as many, but he is pure living proof that TDS is real, Ryan. He knew what he was doing. It was a veiled threat to off President Trump. Now, the Secret Service has already spoken to him, but I'll tell you what Americans are sick of, at least this American. I'm sick of hearing about investigations and then hearing nothing about it other than it's under investigation. Please, Ryan, tell me something's going to be done with this clown, because, clown's really not the right word to use, but it's FCC friendly. This guy shouldn't be walking around at this stage of the game. Trump's had 2 assassination attempts on him. This guy's a former director of the FBI. He knew damn well what he was doing when he did that. What is wrong with these people, Ryan?
Look, Mark, I'm going to have to tell you, you need to break out the Pepto-Bismol because you're about to get sick or stay sick. Nothing's going to come of this.
Well, I don't want to hear that.
As much as I like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and the crew over there, at the end of the day, he's going to deny that he understood what he was saying about the 86 part. Now, there is an explanation for 86. I grew up in Nevada, and we use the term quite a bit. You got 86 from a casino for cheating or whatever. And so there's a connotation of 86 that includes being kicked out of something. So Comey's gonna go. I didn't understand that it was being used by other lefties with Trump derangement syndrome to mean let's off the president, but that's in fact what he meant. He got caught. I think you're giving him too much credit, Mark, to be honest with you, to call this a juvenile stunt. This is a man that was at the upper echelons of power in the government. He knew exactly what he was doing, although he will deny it. And this is what the left does when they claim the January 6th folks were an insurrection. This is how they think. That's just a projection onto conservatives of exactly what's in their heads and what's in their minds. They couldn't wait to get Trump out of office during the first term. They tried everything they could, including impeaching him twice, making up stuff about him, and absolutely frustrating the first Trump administration. And now, because he's so effective at what he's doing, the only way they know how to handle him is either to off him or get him out. And it's disgusting behavior. Comey should be he should be prosecuted for this, but I'm afraid to tell you nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I believe that as well, sadly. But Brad, people are tired of this, and you got to ask yourself this question: what goes through a guy's head? How the TDS so bad that a former director of the FBI who knew damn well what he was doing isn't capable of thinking something like this through? Or is he? Did he think it through? Did he know exactly what it meant? Was he actually trying to incite violence? And even if he says he wasn't, and let's just throw the benefit of the doubt, and I know I'm giving Ryan a stretch on this one, maybe you too, Brad, and you too, Justin, when we get to you, but let's just make the argument that he wasn't trying to throw out a veiled threat. Even if he wasn't, when he should have known as the director of the FBI, does Trump derangement syndrome just make normally intelligent people stupid morons?
I don't think he thought he was making a threat. I think he thought he was being cute and funny. Throwing that out there for his other lefty buddies, and they all have a laugh about it. And he thought that was going to be the end of it. You probably did not expect to get quite the blowback and the attention he's gotten for it. But this man revealed himself to me what he is all the way back in 2016, somewhere 2016. He had his press conference about Hillary Clinton and her email server. Mm-hmm. And I remember exactly where I was that day, watching that press conference and listening to the language she was using. And as a former police officer, I was thinking, this sounds like they're about to indict this woman.
Right.
That's
I
the exact type of words he was using,
Yeah.
And then through all that, then to say, but she didn't really mean it, and a prosecutor would never, bring charges for this. Like that right there showed me that man is not an honest person. He's not a cop. He's not a neutral party. He is a quisling and a communist. And so his behavior doesn't surprise me. Ryan's probably right. He's probably not going to have to answer for it like he should, at least not the way we'd like to see it. But, he's as bad or worse than probably any of the ones that we know of. I mean, he used the FBI as a weapon to both cover up for the Democrats and to go after Republicans, and he was the point man for it. So that just tells you what kind of person he is.
Yeah, I think the words you were, when I was listening to you, all I could hear in my head was partisan hack, man, just partisan hack. And I, like you, I thought, and I remember yelling over to my wife, my God, he's going to indict this lady. She's about ready to get indicted. Nope. No. And it was that whole, the whole Biden thing. Well, he's just going to be viewed as a jury by as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Now, this guy knew what he should have known. And I think you're right. I think he probably was just trying to be cute. But Justin damn well should have known better. That the former director of the FBI, partisan hack or not, can't just be cute when he puts something out along the lines of 86-47. Now, I do want to point this out to you, Justin, too. Imagine what happened before he took that picture. A grown man finding shells and putting 86-47 together because he thinks he's going to be cool. Justin, we're getting cut with the break. And we're going to go back to you on this. But guys, put that in your mind. Theater of the mind. Picture Comey beforehand on his hands and knees putting this together so he could send out this little, what he thought was a cutesy tweet, knowing better as a grown man that he was about to make a fool of himself and get himself in some hot water. And when we come back, we'll talk with Justin Moon about it and see what he has to say about it, what he thinks about it. Then we're going to go to Joe Biden. And, you know, there's this news about Joe Biden having prostate cancer, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. But why did it come out now? Is that coincidental? I don't think so. I'll tell you exactly what I think it is when we come back from this break. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues right after this. Don't go away. 3 more segments with the crew. Justin is next.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Yeah, back to Mark Walters in the Carr Firearms Group studios. We're talking with CEO of Carr Arms, Justin Moon, here on the at the Patriot Mobile Command Center here on the 6 Hour Mic. Justin Moon, CEO, Carr Arms. I'm going to turn it right over to you. We'll forego all the other stuff other than say visit all our partners at armedamericanradio.com. You guys know where to go. So, Justin, you know, it's frustrating, it's maddening to see this nonsense, but to watch these grown men in positions, as Ryan said, in positions of great power, do this. What's wrong with these people, particularly this idiot?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. I think Comey is, as a central figure and a deep state leader who has a vast network of deep state operatives and is tied in very closely with the Democratic Party and the globalists. I think it's clear what he's doing. He's putting a hit out on President Trump. They've already attempted 2 assassination attempts on him. I mean, the first guy was clearly an MK Ultra, program assassin goon. I mean, he has all the hallmarks of it, the guy in Butler, Pennsylvania. The second guy, Ryan Wilson, is clearly working is a CIA contractor, working for the government. And so it's very clear what Comey is doing. He's putting out a message out to the entire deep state network that, they want to assassinate President Trump. It's not being cute. It's not being, fanciful. It's a real threat, and he should be picked up. He should be thrown in jail, and he should be charged with treason because there's certainly more than enough evidence to do that. I mean, there were clearly no grounds for him to, investigate President Trump for Russia collusion, but he made up, garbage which he presented to the FISA court to get that ball rolling. And so, he's been going after Trump with false investigations and, lies and using the power of the state against President Trump, who was a presidential candidate. And this just fits that long pattern.
Yeah, what I find interesting, guys, Justin, about what you're saying, let me just throw it this way. Let's throw a curveball here. Let's just say Comey wasn't doing it for that reason. As the former director of the FBI, he was aware of every investigation. He saw presidents get threats, and many of them legitimate, every single day. And he knows that. He also knows that there were 2 attempted hits on President Trump. So even if he wasn't trying to do that, he knows, as the former director of the FBI, that what he was putting out, because of his former position, Justin, that's exactly what that would incite. He knows that. So it's really hard to argue that he didn't when you consider that. Isn't that true?
But Mark, remember, the first assassin at Butler, Pennsylvania, after he got whacked, the FBI cleaned up all the evidence and just allowed forensics to be done.
And then all of a sudden, the public knows nothing else about it anymore. Let's talk. Do we even need to go to Vegas and talk about that guy?
I mean,
come on.
It's Vegas. It's a cover-up. He ran a cover-up.
It's hard to argue that it's not, Ryan Petty. It's hard to argue that it's not. If you frame it that way, these are things that Comey knew. We know he knew these things as the director of the FBI. We know he was familiar with all of the violence out there, at least that was on the FBI's radar. So he knew. There's no way to argue around that. I don't believe there is, Ryan. I mean, try to fix me if you think so.
Now, look, he had access to classified information. Justin's exactly right. He knows cause and effect. In fact, the whole Trump investigation, that whole Crossfire Hurricane thing, he knew that was garbage, right? And let that proceed and let the FBI be completely politicized. Look, Justin's onto something here. This is one of those things where remember Kathy Griffin when she held up the decapitated head of Trump?
Of course.
These are signals to these crazies on the left. When you see somebody that used to be in a position of power or authority make the kind of post that Comey did, or the the graphic decapitation of the president or burning him in effigy. These are signals to the low level folks that it's okay to be violent. It's okay to take physical action against the president. And so I would not be surprised if, and I pray that we don't, but I would not be surprised if we see more crazy attempts at assassinating President Trump. Let me add one other wrinkle to this thing, and it came out. Comey's writing a book, and he's got a book coming out, I believe, later this month. And so, a little bit of controversy helps sell books. So I wouldn't put it past him. I don't think it's juvenile. I think it's actually a signal to these low-level folks, but it's also a great way to get his book in the news. And that's just disgusting.
Yeah, I don't believe he's going to see many. I think Americans are over him for a lot of different reasons, Brad. I hope I'm right about that. But as we've continued with this conversation, Justin opened it up big time, which I suspected he would do. And it brought up that argument that we're talking about right now that, Ryan just expanded on it. He's in a position, he has had, anyway, access to classified information. He knew all this stuff. I find it very difficult to believe. Well, because that leaves only two things. He's either a stupid imbecile, literally, truly a stupid imbecile, or he knew better. There's really no other way to argue this, Brad. There really is not, considering his former position.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he absolutely should have known better. If he knew better, but, I think he also, considering that he's still walking around, not in chains, probably feels like he's a bit untouchable. Who knows? Maybe he has a pardon from Joe Biden in his back pocket that we don't know about, and he knows that he can do whatever he wants, and he's not going to answer for anything. He's behaving like somebody who doesn't have a care in the world.
Great point.
So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. He's who he is. He's exactly who we thought he was. Which is like you said, a partisan hack, and obviously a very bad actor. And so the sooner he can be marginalized somehow, I would love to see him arrested. Probably not going to see it, but if we can get rid of him one way or the other and marginalize him and get him off the table, so he's no longer official on anybody, the better off we'll be.
It is remarkable, guys, that they just, guys like this just keep themselves out there. They live in a bubble, and they just stay out there. It's incredulous. They are insidious, vile people, and he continues to put himself out there with nonsense like this. When we come back from the break, we're going to absolutely shift it over to Joe Biden. Some interesting stuff to talk about there as well. And when you're talking about pardons, Brad, the auto pen and the pardons, we're going to talk about that. Joe Biden's quote-unquote supposedly recent diagnosis. I'm not buying that one bit. I'll tell you why I'm not buying that one bit when we come back, because I can. This is what we want to talk about now. And then we'll talk about some other fun gun stuff as well going on. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues with a classic Armed American Radio Roundtable with the crew, Parkland Father Ryan Petty, CEO of Car Arms Justin Moon, and of course CEO of Lead Slingers Whiskey Brad Primo. We're in the Car Firearms Group studios with you. We'll be back right after the break. Don't go away. 2 more to go, guys.
following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And as I tell you about our partners, in the first two segments of Hour 1, we heard from Mark Victor, the founder of Attorneys for Freedom, our newest partner. Guys, if you're looking for coverage as far as you want self-defense lawyers on retainer, they got you covered. We're going to hear a lot more from Mark. We love talking to our self-defense attorneys. They're great. The information we get from them is amazing. Mark Victor was on fire. We could easily have gone 3 hours, but make sure to check out attorneysforfreedom.com, attorneysforfreedom.com. And I'm going to have a lot more information for you. It's new for us right now. I've got a lot more information for you. Promo codes. Want to make sure everything's activated. We'll cover a lot of that for you tomorrow, but make sure to check them out, attorneysforfreedom.com. We've got you covered in every angle here on Armed American Radio. It's that simple. Pooh, good stuff, good stuff. And boy, we're going to be making a huge announcement for you on June 1. I can promise you that. Probably one of the biggest announcements we've ever made on this broadcast. That's, Greg, you jump in here real quick. I think because I think we're safe to say that, right? This is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's huge, ladies and gentlemen. When I can get Greg's agreement on that.
They're not prepared.
What's that?
They're not prepared for this this new partnership.
Probably not, but good heavens. It won't shock a lot of you. It might shock some of you, but it's a big one, and we're really thrilled about it. So hang in there. June 1st is a big deal. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group Studios. Make sure to check out all of our partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Clean your guns with Barrel Buddies. Use the promo code AAR. Put your guns in a crossbreed holster. Pick up the new car. I actually went down to the gun shop today to see if my X9 had come in yet. It hasn't, but I am just holding my breath for that one. So, guys, check them all out. They're all there for you at armedamericanradio.com. All right, I got to go back to this. Where did we leave off? Did we close off with you, Brad? Let me refresh my brain. Greg and I got in a conversation during the break I want to bring up here.
Yep, you ended with me.
All right, let's go then to Justin. Justin, one of the things that came up in discussion before we get to Biden is, you know, we talk about these, how it just angers me that we see these investigations, right? Comer stands up and says, we're going to subpoena everybody if they don't want to voluntarily show up, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. Good. Then it just goes away. That's the cynic in me, Justin. It just goes away. We never hear anything else about it. But there's a reason, a large part of why we don't hear anything about it is because the left-wing media simply won't cover it, period. We don't know what's happening because we don't see it from the media. Sadly, Justin, this is where we still get our information. And if they make a concerted, unified effort to keep it from us, that's the lie of omission we've talked about over the years, ladies and gentlemen. They lie through just flat out omission. We're not even going to cover it. It doesn't seem to get any legs. Justin, I'm hopeful in this administration, particularly with Bondi at the helm, Kash Patel at the helm, Bongino in there. Okay, he just gave a great interview. I'm hopeful that maybe we can break through that media omission blackout at some point. How do you think that's possible? It's a tough one to break, but I think it can be done.
Well, I think you need to stop watching mainstream media and go on X and get all your news there because all the information is there. I mean, the gears of justice are turning, but, you know, as you know, any case, law enforcement case takes time to, you know, build Sadly. And to investigate and to prosecute. But I do believe this DOJ and this FBI are going to start making some indictments on some of these deep state traders who basically tried to run a coup on January 6th, you know, doing that Fedsurrection, and then stole the 2020 election from President Trump. President Trump won 2020. That was stolen from him. And I think the evidence is all over the place, and we're going to see some prosecutions coming soon.
Oh, God, I hope you're right, Justin. I hope you're right. Ryan, let me flip over to you. Let's go to Joe Biden. So news breaks over the last week or so, which is astonishing to me because anybody that had open eyes and was watching anything other than MSDNC or CNN LOL, or, well, okay, I got to go here, ABC and NBC so we can all CBS. Okay, that's a lot of networks that were failing, including outlets like the AP and others that are out admitting now. And I'm not going to give Jake Tapper anything here. Jake Tapper's just trying to get ahead of his skis for one good reason, and that is because he was part of the cover-up as well, and now he's coming out running his mouth about it so he can say that he wasn't. At least he wrote a book about it after the fact. But we all know Joe Biden was dementia-addled like crazy from day one. We've all seen it. And my God, ladies and gentlemen, all of a sudden there are people out there, Ryan, who are just figuring this out now because that's the nonsense that they were watching, period. No other networks showed him falling down. Other networks didn't show him standing there shaking hands with air. I mean, if I got to hand it to Fox on this one. If you were watching Fox News, you saw these. Everybody watching Fox News for 4 years at least saw that, Ryan. And now it's all coming out. And now you got the Democrats saying, people in high positions of authority saying that there was a cover-up, in fact, at the White House. We all know that's the case. Anybody with an open brain cell knows that was the case. All the media attention about Biden's been so bad lately. And all of a sudden, here comes the sympathy story. Joe Biden has cancer. Does he? No doubt. I don't, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, ladies and gentlemen. Don't misinterpret me. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. The convenience of, I don't buy for 1 minute that they just found this out, Ryan. They've known this. Now's the perfect time to put that out to garner sympathy for Joe Biden and his family at a time they're getting really crappy shiitake mushroom press. Could I be right about that, or am I just a conspiracy wacko?
No, I think you're absolutely 100% right. Look, I don't wish this on my worst enemy. I think you said that, Mark. I agree. I pray for the Bidens, and hopefully he'll make a recovery on this. But it is so, this particular cancer I was reading earlier today, right? It has gone so far. It's metastasized into the bone. That doesn't just happen over the course of a few weeks or even a month or two. This is something that he has been dealing with probably since he was president.
Correct.
Which goes back to the point that although we can express sympathy for Joe Biden, the question about the cover-up is actually doubled at this point, because it's not only his dementia that was covered up, it's now his presidential health records and the presentation to the United States, to the citizens of the United States through the press and the media that he was a healthy, fit president. And it turns out that may not have been true. So while I can have sympathy for Joe Biden and his family and hope that the doctors can get ahead of this, this just opens up a whole new can of worms in my view, and opens up a bunch of questions as to what's going on. And as to Jake Tapper, let me just, Jake, and I've met Jake and talked to Jake a few times. I am absolutely, I cannot believe he's written a book trying to deny his role in covering up the president's health. Like it's beyond. It's beyond belief. I knew he was
it really is.
A disingenuous hack on the left. I knew that about Mr. Tapper. But to see him try to profit off of this is just beyond, I don't have words for it. Beyond belief.
It really, truly is. It really, truly is. Brad, I couldn't have said it better. It is. I mean, these guys, ladies and gentlemen, they just think you're stupid. To the entire nation that voted for Trump, a reminder. We're not. All right, Brad, go ahead. I mean, is my theory about that is what you heard from Ryan? I mean, that's absolutely what I believe. Look, any male, guys, if you're listening, you get this, especially if you're over 50 years old. Okay, you get a PSA test on every physical you take. I'm going back in for another yearly physical in July. I'm going to get another PSA. I get them all the time. Brad, come on, man. How stupid do they think we are? 30 seconds, and then we'll come back to you.
Oh, I mean, come on. They think we're stupid because we've laid down and taken all the crap they've shoved down our throats for years, right? So we kind of deserve that treatment in some ways because we've just laid down and taken it for all these years. They think we are stupid. Look, they knowingly put Joe Biden in office knowing that he was demented and probably ridden with cancer. They did that 4 years ago with a plan, then knowing that he was just going to be a sock puppet the entire time. That's the scary thing right there.
You can't believe anything these people tell you, ladies and gentlemen. If you do, you are not doing your civic duty. And sadly, many of you don't. We've got one more segment to go. Don't go away.
and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
All right, guys, here we go. Final segment of Armed American Radio today. It's been a great program. Thanks for tuning in with us. We appreciate it very much. Lots going on at Armed American Radio and lots of cool stuff. That means a lot of cool stuff is going on for you. I can promise you that. As we were talking about in the previous segment, June 1st, we've got a huge announcement to make. Really excited about that. And you can check out all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. That includes Bud's Gun Shop. If you're watching, I'm wearing this really cool gray Bud's Gun Shop shirt over here by Savage. Great stuff. Bud's Gun Shop is our exclusive online retailer. You can find everything you need at Bud's Gun Shop. Everything you need at Bud's Gun Shop. We have planned a live appearance from the Tennessee location. We're still working out the dates on that. Got to make sure the whole crew is there and what guests might show up during that appearance. So we'll let you know when that gets ready to happen. We're going to have some travel. I'm going to be up at SIGS in June coming up. Lots happening. So just stay tuned with us. Armed American Radio has your back. We got you covered. And we hope you're enjoying the broadcast as much as we enjoy bringing it to you every single week. If you need some stuff from MyPillow, it's real simple, guys. I mean, they've got stuff over there now as low as $9.99 over there for some of the sheets and all the cool stuff. Make sure to check them out, MyPillow.com, and support them for supporting us in this broadcast, which means they support you and your gun rights, all of your rights and freedoms. Mike believes in the Constitution, and support him. Believe me, they could use the help over there. MyPillow.com/AAR, and automatically will populate with the AAR promo code. You get all the great discounts you see, and that says by using that code, hey, thanks for supporting my gun rights for about 12 years on Armed American Radio. Justin Moon, let's go to you. I don't think we went to you on this, the last part of the conversation relative to the media covering up and everything else. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it away. Then we're going to go to the ATF and the forced reset triggers. I want to get the guy's opinion on that one. Justin, take it away, brother. Are we ever going to get the truth? Ever? Can we believe any of it from them? Ever?
Well, we're never going to get the truth from the establishment media because they're operating under the Operation Mockingbird. It's controlled by the deep state intelligence agencies. And in addition to that, Obama, under his administration, passed an act legalizing propaganda on the American people. So we have to wake up and we have to understand that those outlets are really the enemy of the American people and that we have to get real information.
Yeah, I've said that for a long time, that they're the enemies. They're enemies of freedom, and you just nailed it again. Justin Moon for the win. You know, media's the nail and Justin's the hammer. They have been lying to us, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't go into this, Justin, you can agree or disagree. I think I know where you're going to go with this, but if you don't go into anything that you read or hear, knowing that backdrop, you're really doing yourself, your family, your community, and your country a disservice, are you not? Because it affects everything all the way down to how you vote, right?
Well, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Mark. If we don't have the truth and good information, we can't be the owners of this country. The citizens no longer own the country then.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're spot on, Justin. Ryan, this is a great segue for you because you are an FFL. I've only hit a forced reset trigger, I think, 1 or 2 times. Yeah, I love full auto fire with the machine guns. In fact, Ryan, you and I have fired shoulder to shoulder full auto together before when we were together at a Daniel Defense event. And I can't believe it's been a couple years ago, but we had a blast with that. Your wife also enjoyed it. And, you know, the force reset trigger is different. The definition is different. Here we've got a rule change. The DOJ has said no. The Second Amendment has been stepped on for too long. And another rule by the Biden administration and the ATF overturned. And we got to give hats off to Nagar out there. Man, Dudley has just done an amazing job on that case. He's given some great statements. We talked about it with both AWR Hawkins and with Alan Gottlieb in the previous hour, in the first hour of the program. Ryan, what's your thoughts on that? Again, a step in the right direction, correct? Are we finally getting our Second Amendment back with these types of decisions from the DOJ, and what might that lead to down the road? Will I eventually be able to buy whatever I want out of a vending machine? Hopefully someday, maybe?
Well,
might be a little overly optimistic there. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, I'm going to let the universe work, okay? You know, try to put it out there and see if I get it back, right?
Yeah, and I won't throw bad karma out there or anything for you. But look, it's encouraging to see the DOJ take this seriously. President Trump is called for, restoration of Second Amendment. He's asked the DOJ to go through and look at where they're infringing. This is these are all positive steps forward. Now, we've had some interesting, the courts have been interesting. They always are. Hey, groups like NAGR, Second Amendment Foundation, I just can't thank GOA, Firearms Policy. These guys, I can't thank them enough for the lawsuit printers that they are in generating some action within the courts. Well, it remains to be seen how this Supreme Court will handle these things. But this is encouraging. But where we need to get, let's not forget, we need to get our federal agencies, the executive branch agencies, should be protectors of our civil rights. The Second Amendment, one of the most important civil rights that we have, and they're just cleaning up the mess from Obama, Biden, and quite frankly, decades of civil rights abuse against law-abiding citizens and gun owners. It's gonna take a lot to get them into the mode of protecting those rights as opposed to infringing on those rights. We're just maybe turning that corner, but I think we're a ways out.
Yeah, it's positive. It's positive information. It's a step in the right direction. Brad, real quick, I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, that a force reset trigger is not full auto fire. Okay? I'll make that very clear. I didn't mention that as a disclaimer when I brought that up. But it is still, we talked about it with AWR Hawkins in more specifics, but it is still an individual pull because of the trigger mechanism itself and how it works. Brad, I mean, it's good to see these moves, okay? It's good to know that whether I want to buy one or not, I can if I want to, because I should be able to, because that is my right, as no threat to anyone as a law-abiding citizen, correct?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, the fact that we're even having this discussion about something like this really shows, how our rights have been eroded. Frankly, I should be able to drive down to the gas station and buy a machine gun out of a vending machine if I want to, in my opinion.
I agree.
And and so we're sitting here, having to debate semantics about whether or not this constitutes full auto fire or not. And my position is it shouldn't matter. So, I'm happy we're making these incremental wins. We shouldn't have to be fighting these, but fortunately we have an administration that seems more friendly to our Second Amendment rights. But, this is just the first step. I mean, there's action in Congress right now, trying to get suppressors off the NFA. They're trying to water that. We got Republicans trying to water that down. So we got to start holding people responsible. But I'll take any win that we can get. But this is just the beginning. We got a lot bigger fish to fry. We got more to go after.
Yeah, we got to step on the gas. Justin, we've got about 20 seconds with you. Hopefully, I'll be able to buy one of those Thompsons the way it was meant to be. And all you got to do, Justin, is watch the movie The Highwayman when he walks into the hardware store and buys a BAR and a Tommy gun and everything else. That should be the law of the land, Justin. 20 seconds. Take it away. It's all good, right, brother?
You're absolutely right, Mark. We should get rid of the NFA. But if we can't, I would like to at least get the suppressors and SBRs taken off the NFA. Basically, go through the 4473.
And moving in that direction, ladies and gentlemen, it remains to be seen, but we've got an administration that's very friendly to us right now. Now is the time to get even more active than you were when you were on defense, get more active on offense, and step on the accelerator. You can do that by joining the National Rifle Association, joining the Second Amendment Foundation, joining NAGR, joining the Gun Owners of America, all of your local state groups. They're there for a reason, and they're supporting your right to keep and bear arms. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms, thank you, brother. We love you for a reason, fan favorite for a reason. Ryan Petty, thank you for being here. Brad Primo, same thing. And to all of our guests tonight, we appreciate it very much. We're going to get up and do it again tomorrow precisely because they don't want us to. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
On the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate it very much. Great program today. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and share all the posts. Help get it out there. Help us take our social media back. We appreciate it very much. Tomorrow, likely, as always, Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason, KQAM, Wichita's big talker, Wichita's favorite son. We love Andy. You never know what's coming up on a Monday. If the weather's crappy in Kansas, he's going to love it, but he loves his Mondays, and we love spending Mondays with him. So enjoy your day. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Never leave your cave without your club. Hope you enjoyed the program as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Make sure to check out Attorneys for Freedom and get yourself really easy to do, ladies and gentlemen. If you've ever wanted an attorney specifically for self-defense, an attorney specifically for self-defense, they've got you covered over there. Mark Victor is not going to be, that was not his first appearance, I can promise. You can't wait to bring him back. Awful lot of fun. We love our defense attorneys here, and we have a lot to talk about him, all kinds of different scenarios and things that you need to know. So we're thrilled about that. Hope you are too as well. Attorneysforfreedom.com. Enjoy your day, guys. What's left of it, wherever you are, stay safe. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.